Right now, somewhere in America, a 34-year-old is staring at an $847 balance in their savings account, wondering why nobody ever handed them the manual. They went to school for 12 years. They got the job. They do everything they were told to do. And yet that first $100,000 feels like it belongs to someone else's life. Here is the part that should make you furious. It was never an accident. The same system that taught you the capital of every state, the periodic table, and how to dissect a frog, somehow never found the time to teach you how money actually works. Your bank profits every single month from your confusion. Wall Street built an entire industry on keeping you overwhelmed and underinformed. And the financial media? They get paid to keep you scared, clicking, and dependent on their next headline. But here is what they could never hide forever. The path to your first $100,000 is not complicated. It is not reserved for people born into the right family or people who got lucky with the right stock. It is a system, a repeatable, learnable system that works on a teacher's salary, a warehouse worker's paycheck, and yes, even if you are currently carrying debt. My name is David, and I have spent years breaking down exactly how ordinary Americans build extraordinary wealth. Not by working harder, not by getting lucky, but by finally learning the rules of a game that was never properly explained to them. If what I am about to share resonates with you, hit subscribe, because this channel exists for one reason: to give you the financial education your school collected 12 years of your life and never delivered. Now, before we get into the strategies, I need you to understand something about where most people go wrong. And I mean most. We are talking about roughly 67% of Americans who could not cover a $1,000 emergency without going into debt. That is not a laziness problem. That is not an income problem. That is an information problem. Because the moment you understand how wealth actually compounds, the moment the math clicks, everything changes. Think about it this way. Imagine you are trying to fill a bathtub. You turn the faucet on full blast, working hard, doing everything right. But what you cannot see is that someone installed a drain at the bottom, and it is wide open. That is exactly what is happening to most American households right now. Money comes in, and before they even see it clearly, it is gone. Not because they spent it on something crazy, but because nobody ever showed them where the drains were or how to plug them. The wealthy do not earn dramatically more in their early years. What they do differently is they learn to plug the drains first. Then they let the water rise. And once that water hits a certain level, once you cross that first $100,000, something shifts permanently. Your money stops being just a reflection of your labor. It starts becoming a machine that runs quietly in the background, working while you sleep, working while you eat, working while you are sitting in traffic on the 405, wondering why your life feels stuck. Charlie Munger, Warren Buffett's partner for decades, said the first $100,000 is the hardest. He called it a critical mass moment, and he was right. But what nobody explains is why. It is not just compound interest, although that is part of it. It is psychological. Once you see that number in your account, your entire relationship with money changes. You stop spending like someone who is afraid money will run out. You start making decisions like someone who understands that every dollar today is worth several dollars tomorrow. So here is what we are going to do today. I am going to walk you through 9 specific moves, not generic advice, not feel-good tips, 9 actual tactical shifts that can cut your timeline to $100,000 in half. Some of these are going to challenge what you thought you knew. Some of them are going to make you angry that nobody told you sooner. But every single one of them is actionable starting today, regardless of what your bank account looks like right now. Let's start with number 9. And this one alone could be worth more than $50,000 over the next decade if you actually apply it. Most Americans treat taxes like the weather, something that happens to you, something you complain about but cannot control. That mindset is costing you more than your car payment, your grocery bill, and your streaming subscriptions combined. Here is what the wealthy figured out a long time ago. The IRS literally wrote instructions into the tax code telling you exactly how to legally keep more of your money. They built the 401k. They built the traditional IRA. They built the HSA. These are not loopholes. They are invitations. And most people are leaving them unopened on the doorstep. If you're earning $55,000 a year and you contribute $10,000 to a traditional 401k, you are only taxed on $45,000 of income. In the 22% tax bracket, that is $2,200 back in your pocket immediately. Not next year, not eventually, immediately. That $2,200 is not a small number. Invested consistently over time, that single move alone compounds into tens of thousands of dollars. The government is literally offering you a discount on building wealth, and most people are too busy being frustrated about their tax bill to cash it in. Number 8 is one of the most straightforward wealth transfers available to any working American, and millions of people ignore it every single year. Your employer's 401k match is free money. I do not mean that loosely. I mean that if your company matches 50 cents for every dollar you contribute up to 6% of your salary, and you are not contributing at least 6%, you are handing part of your compensation back to your employer every 2 weeks and asking for nothing in return. On a $55,000 salary, that match is worth $1,650 per year, minimum. Over 10 years with normal market returns, that single ignored benefit compounds into over $26,000. That is a used car. That is a down payment. That is real money that belongs to you, that your employer set aside specifically for you. And the only thing required to collect it is showing up. If you are currently not maximizing your employer match, stop everything else on this list and fix that first. There is no investment on earth that guarantees you a 50% return on day one before the market even opens. This is the closest thing to free money that legally exists in America. Number 7 is where we start talking about something most financial advice gets completely backwards. The standard advice is live below your means. Cut the coffee, cancel the subscriptions, shrink your life until saving feels possible. And yes, plugging obvious spending leaks matters, but the obsession with cutting small expenses while ignoring income is like trying to win a race by reducing the weight of your shoelaces. The real accelerator is expanding your means while keeping your lifestyle flat. Not getting a second job, creating a second income stream that exists completely outside your regular budget. Your regular paycheck handles your life. This extra income has exactly one job: building your $100,000. The average American with a marketable skill, writing, design, coding, tutoring, bookkeeping, social media management, can generate an additional $500 to $1,500 per month in evening hours without touching your primary career. That is $6,000 to $18,000 per year going directly into wealth building. Money that never touched your lifestyle budget. Money that feels like it appeared from nowhere. When you mentally separate your wealth building income from your living income, the psychology of saving completely changes. It stops feeling like sacrifice and starts feeling like a parallel track running quietly alongside your regular life. Number 6 requires discipline, but the numbers behind it are so clear that once you see them, you cannot unsee them. Every time a dividend hits your investment account, you have a choice. You can spend it, a dinner out, a weekend trip, something that will be forgotten in 3 weeks. Or you can reinvest it and buy more shares of the same asset that just paid you. Here is why that second choice is so powerful. Over the past century, the S&P 500 returned roughly 10.7% annually with dividends reinvested. Without reinvesting dividends, that number drops to around 6.6%. 4 percentage points sounds small until you run it out over 30 years. On a $100,000 portfolio, that difference is not thousands of dollars. It is hundreds of thousands of dollars. It is the difference between retiring at 60 with financial freedom and retiring at 72 hoping nothing goes wrong. Every dividend reinvested buys you more shares. More shares pay more dividends. More dividends buy more shares. It is a loop that builds on itself quietly, invisibly, and relentlessly. But only if you resist the temptation to treat your investment income like a bonus check. Number 5 is the one that costs people the most money, while feeling like it costs them nothing at all. Investment fees are invisible. They do not show up as a line item on your bank statement. They do not send you a bill. They just quietly drain your returns year after year after year. And most people have no idea it is happening. A fund charging 1% annually versus a fund charging 0.05% might seem like a rounding error. But on a $100,000 portfolio over 30 years, that difference in fees compounds into over $200,000 in lost wealth. $200,000 gone. Not to bad investments, not to market crashes, to fees you never noticed on a statement you probably never read. Index funds that track the S&P 500 are essentially identical products regardless of which financial company offers them. Vanguard, Fidelity, Schwab, the underlying assets are the same. The only meaningful difference is cost. Choosing a low-cost index fund over a high-fee actively managed fund is one of the highest return decisions you will ever make, and it takes about 11 minutes to do once. Number 4 goes against almost everything financial news tells you to do, and that is exactly why it works. Stop trying to time the market. The financial media exists to make you feel like every week is a critical moment requiring urgent action. Interest rates moved. Inflation came in hot. Some executive said something on a Tuesday. The entire machine is designed to keep you reactive, keep you trading, keep you engaged, because your engagement is their revenue. Here is the reality. If you invested $10,000 in the S&P 500 in 2000 and just left it there, through the dot-com crash, through 2008, through COVID, you would have over $70,000 today. If you tried to be clever and missed just the 10 best trading days over that same period, your $10,000 would be worth less than $32,000. The cost of trying to be smart is $38,000 on a single $10,000 investment. The best days in the stock market almost always come immediately after the worst days, when panic is highest and everyone is selling. The people trying to avoid the bad days end up missing the good days every single time. Your only job while building your first $100,000 is to put money in consistently and refuse to touch it. That is not passive. That is the strategy. Number 3 is where most people either overthink themselves into paralysis or underthink themselves into disaster. Choosing what to invest in does not have to be complicated. In fact, the more complicated your investment strategy, the worse your results are statistically likely to be. Individual stock picking sounds exciting. It feels like skill. But study after study shows that the overwhelming majority of professional fund managers, people with Bloomberg terminals, research teams, and decades of experience, cannot consistently beat the S&P 500 index over a 10-year period. If they cannot do it reliably, the odds of a part-time investor doing it while also working a full-time job are not encouraging. A broad market index fund gives you ownership in roughly 500 of the most successful companies in America simultaneously. Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, Johnson & Johnson. You are not betting on one horse. You are betting on American capitalism as a whole, which over every 20-year period in modern history has gone up. For younger investors with 20 or more years before they need the money, adding a growth-tilted fund alongside a broad index fund is reasonable. More volatility in the short term, but with time on your side, that volatility is not a threat. It is an opportunity to buy more shares at lower prices. Number 2 is the strategy that separates people who eventually reach $100,000 from people who spend years feeling like they are almost there. Automation. Not motivation, not discipline, not willpower. Automation. Every financial goal that depends on you remembering to do it, feeling like doing it, and not being tempted to do something else with that money first will eventually fail. Not because you are weak, because willpower is a limited resource, and your brain is wired to prioritize today over tomorrow. The solution is simple. Set up an automatic transfer the day after your paycheck hits, before you see the money, before it touches your spending account. A fixed amount, whatever your honest budget allows, moves directly into your investment account, on a schedule. You never make the decision in the moment. The system makes it for you. People who automate their savings consistently outperform people who try to save whatever is left at the end of the month. Because at the end of the month, there is almost never anything left. Life fills the space. DoorDash fills the space. Amazon fills the space. The only money that reliably gets saved is the money that never had a chance to get spent. And now, number 1. The strategy that ties everything together and is the real reason some people hit $100,000 while others spend years wondering why the number never moves. Your savings rate is the single most powerful variable in your entire financial life. Not your investment returns, not which fund you picked, not whether the Fed raised rates, your savings rate. Here is the math that most people never sit down to look at. At a 10% savings rate on a $55,000 income, reaching $100,000 takes approximately 12 years, assuming average market returns. At a 20% savings rate, that drops to around 7 years. At 30%, you are looking at roughly 5 years. The difference between 10% and 30% is not a dramatic lifestyle sacrifice for most Americans. It is a series of conscious decisions about what actually matters to you. The average American household spends $3,000 per year on dining out, over $2,400 on entertainment subscriptions and impulse purchases, nearly $4,500 on vehicle costs beyond basic transportation. None of these are evil. All of them are choices. And when you start seeing them as choices rather than fixed expenses, the math on reaching $100,000 shifts dramatically. The wealthy are not smarter. They are not luckier, at least not most of them. What they did differently, almost without exception, is they decided early that their future mattered more than their present comfort. They automated. They invested consistently. They ignored the noise. They kept their fees low. They reinvested everything. They created additional income. And they never tried to outsmart a market that has been building wealth for patient people for over a century. Your first $100,000 is not a fantasy. It is a math problem with a very solvable answer. The system never taught you the formula, but now you have it. And what you do with it from this moment forward is entirely up to you.